Hey PC gamers, and welcome back to the PC Gamer Chat Log. I am Lauren Morton.
And I'm Mollie Taylor.
And this week, Mollie and I are bringing on our news writer, Elie Gould, to talk about horror games, because 'tis the season for spooky games. We're going to be talking about some of our personal favorites, different things we like in horror games and don't like, and giving you some fun recommendations for them. So before we get to that part, Mollie, what did you play last week? Are you already playing horror games yet? Are you getting in the season?
Well, as we'll discover in the episode, I am a bit of a baby, so no horror games for me right now. However, I have still been playing Metaphor Refantasio. I finished it finally. I was like really sick last week again. When is this girl not sick is a question that many of you are probably asking.
True.
I asked myself the same damn thing. I was quite sick last week, so it took me a little bit longer to finish it than I would have liked, but I did finally finish it. I'm on my second playthrough right now because I'm.
What was the hour count? Those things are intimidating.
101 hours was what my save file clocked in at. I had like a little bit more than that because of like reloads and bits here and there, but like probably also a little bit less because of like AFKing, so probably roughly evened out in the end. So yeah, about 100 hours was what I clocked in the end. You could definitely do it in less, but I was like grinding and I was talking to all the NPCs. I was like soaking in all of the lore, and I said last week as well, like my boyfriend was watching me play, so you know there was like sometimes when we would like be talking about the game and stuff like that. So, you know, like it, you could probably clear Metaphor in like 80 hours, I reckon. You could definitely shave like a good amount of time off that. But I was like soaking in absolutely everything that I could about the game. And yeah, it's amazing. I love it. It's such a fantastic game. It reminds me a lot of like older JRPGs. In like a really good way. Like I love it. It might not be for everyone, but I really like it. I also played a little bit of Lethal Company this weekend.
Oh yeah? Picked it back up?
For the first time in
for the first time.
ages.
You didn't like play it originally, right?
I only played it like once. I played it once back in January. And because everyone already knew how to play, I was kind of just being carried. And like, you know, and I didn't feel like I was being very useful, but we played again and it had been a while for everyone. So there was stuff in it that nobody knew about. There's this like baby now. It's called a man-eater and it cries and you can like pick it up. You can like rock it and get it to stop crying. So my friend had like picked up this baby and had like rocked it. And he's like, I'm going to take this back to the ship. And then he like takes it back out to the ship. And then he suddenly comes running back into the building and he's like, guys. And we're like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, so the baby transformed into a giant monster and almost killed me. And now it's right by the ship. And we're like, oh, okay. Neat. And then on like another run, my boyfriend also I came across the man-eater. I gave it to my boyfriend and then he tried to throw it off a cliff. And it transformed again and immediately killed him. So that was fantastic. But it was really nice. I've been kind of in my like playing games by myself era. I finish work and all I want to do is I just want to lie on the sofa and like game on my Steam Deck. But I'm kind of, you know, getting that like itch to play with friends again and to kind of like goof off in Discord. I haven't really been in Discord much lately with my friends, but I've been getting that itch to do it again. And it was really fun. It was really, really fun. I forgot how nice it can be to unwind with your friends when you can't necessarily see them.
I feel like Lethal Company counts as playing a horror game, a spooky game. Right?
Actually, yeah, you're right. Damn, I'm so brave.
Look at you.
I'm so brave. Go me.
Well done.
Thank you.
I can't talk about what I've been playing yet.
Ooh,
I would
secret.
be able to tell you the day after this gets posted, but not the day it gets posted, so I'm not allowed to tell you at all. You'll hear about that next week. But what I did do was I finished another Witcher book. You know, I've been reading the Witcher books.
Oh, yeah.
Slowly but surely this year. I'm now through Baptism of Fire, which is the third of the like actual novels, the fifth book overall. I have 3 more to go. I'm still enjoying them. They're still fun. Baptism of Fire was very Fellowship of the Witcher. I think they literally call it a fellowship at one point, but it's just Geralt amassing some friends that you know for this like doomed trek behind the like front lines of a war, like across God only knows like a very small amount of actual territory as they're like going to look for Ciri. And that's basically what the whole book is. There's a few other things in there, but like that's most of it. And you finally get to meet like a couple people from the games that you might know, like one of Zoltan is in the first Witcher game. I have fond memories of Zoltan because he looks so cursed in the first Witcher game. He has a very awful face. They did him dirty. And Regis, the vampire. I was trying to decide if that's a spoiler or not, but I feel like you know immediately that that's what he is in the book, basically. Like that's the point of the story. And he comes in like maybe just the DLC for The Witcher 3. Like I feel like he's in Blood and Wine and maybe not the main game. I don't remember for sure, but he's definitely in The Witcher 3. So anyway, I haven't been playing any video games I could tell you about. That's it. I can just tell you that I've been reading The Witcher, and that was some of the stuff that was in the book I just finished. So that's my video game news for this week. So let's go grab Elie and talk about horror games. All right, Elie, thank you for joining us to talk about horror games. You're one of our big horror game enjoyers on the team right now. So tell us your background in horror games. How long have you been a big horror freak? What's the deal?
So I think my background started because of just having a lot of unrestricted access, in the internet. I started off like only being able to have like my DS and maybe my cousin's like Wii, like when we went around on special occasions. And then I like remember logging onto my family PC and being like, oh, I don't need a PS2. Like I don't need any of this stuff. I can get this by myself. And then I just kind of like stumbled into the world of Amnesia and Outlast and kind of all those big hitters pretty quick. And then I found Itch.io.
Please tell me that this was as a frightfully young age as well, that this was happening.
The first time I played Amnesia Dark Descent, I was 12, I think.
Yes.
And it was like haunted me. Like to this day, I'm terrified of being chased. Like if someone walks behind me quickly, I freak out. And I think it's actually because of that. So yeah.
Core memories of Amnesia.
Yeah. That's what the Dark Descent does.
Love it. So you've been a horror game player for a long time then. Are there like, what is like your number one horror game of all time? And then are there like subgenres of horror that you either think are great or like not great? Is there a worst subgenre of horror games?
I don't think there's a worse subgenre, but I think one that's really hard to get right is psychological. Because like when it hits so well. And I think it can be like the scariest one. But when it misses, it's like horrendous and also kind of funny, which like I played the Layers of Fear remake last year.
Oh, right.
And that was bad. Like that was just really bad. It was a shame because like the transition, I don't know if you guys have played it or if...
No. I'm just like aware of it. I've seen it played before.
It's like the concept is interesting. And so you get kind of, you're in this house and it's psychological. So kind of you're tripping out the entire time. The house is like molding around you and it's kind of like a TARDIS. And the way that like happens is really cool because it happens really naturally. And they did that really well, but the themes were just so off base. Like you play as a dude that is just such a dickhead to his wife basically the entire time. And like she gets burnt in a fire and then you're like, I can't use you as my muse anymore because you're ugly now. And like, then she becomes, it's awful. And then she becomes like the monster that haunts you. And it's so bad because I played the entire thing and like, she would jump out at me and I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not, this isn't my opinions. I think you're a lovely lady. This isn't.
You could still be my muse, I swear.
Yeah, like, you look great. You seem like really nice and really talented. I think she played, was it violin or piano? She was like a talented musician. And they tried to remedy it by like giving her own story. And I spent the entire time trying to convince her that she was more than just a mother and a wife. Like, because you can try and pick things for like, you can try and like change the direction of the story. And at the end, I got the good ending. And at the end, she's like, says something like, I'm broken, I'm ugly, but at least I'm free. And I was like, no, that's not what I was going for. I've just spent like 3 hours.
What a mantra, though.
Yeah, no. I was like,
what a fantastic mantra to live by. I'm broken, I'm ugly, but I'm free.
Yeah, I was like, no, that's not what I wanted. But anyway, so yeah, I think that's like an example of when like psychological horror doesn't hit very hard at all.
Mm-hmm. What's your number one favorite horror game then? I know it's a difficult question in any genre.
I'm gonna do a cop-out question. My old favorites, The Evil Within 2. And I think just for nostalgia, Amnesia the Bunker, because it's kind of what like kickstarted me into PC games as a whole. And fun fact, I haven't finished it yet. I've been playing that game for, I think it's the 14-year anniversary now. And I've been stuck in the same broom closet for like 10 years because I hate getting chased. And I found this, like, it's in between two storage shelves and the monster can't get you. And so it's like my little safe space. And every year on Halloween, I go, this year I'm going to do it. I'm going to get out there. And I get up, I get out, I go out of the door and there's this long hallway and then like a T-junction. Before I get to the end, I hear the monster coming and I just go, I don't have it in me this year. And I just go back. I go back to my space and I just like hit save and I go, maybe next year I'll do it. And I'm like it's just too big in my head.
That is a hell of a Halloween tradition.
Yeah, I have to do it at least like, I do it at least like once every year around October just to see if I can like, I have the strength. Which is crazy because I played
the year that we escaped the bunker.
Yeah, is it this year? Probably not. I'm feeling tired this year. I don't think there's been a lot of horror games. But yeah, I think recent horror games, which are my favorite, are probably Alan Wake 2. Really pulled it out of the bag because I wasn't expecting to like that as much as I did. Amnesia, The Bunker. That was fantastic. And I think stealth and psychological horror done right, like to a T. And then I'm enjoying Silent Hill 2 remake as well. It's going well.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Molly, are you a horror game player at all?
No. It's weird. I think people quite often presume that I am like a big horror game person because, you know, I like spooky like vibes. I like spooky aesthetics. You know, I like that kind of thing. Actually being spooked, I'm not a huge fan of. It's not my favorite thing in the world. But like despite that, I have played a lot of horror games, which I think is I think that's the thing that everyone does, right? It's like, I don't like horror, but I've played a lot of horror games. You know? Amnesia was like the reason I made a Steam account, basically. It was the first game that I ever owned on Steam. It was the first game I ever bought and owned on Steam. You know, I played the PT demo when that was on the PlayStation, like trying to figure out speaking into the microphone on the plugged into the controller to try and see if it would trigger something, because I think that was the theory at the time, like that kind of stuff. What else have I played? I never really played horror games when I was a kid. I would play like, you know, like kind of gory games. Like I was a big fighting gamer still as a kid as well, so I played Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat, but those weren't scary. They were just like violent. I guess there's like a difference, right? But I never played Silent Hill growing up. I never played Resident Evil growing up. The closest I got for a long time was playing the Revelations demo on the 3DS. And that was like fine. I wasn't really scared by stuff on the 3DS. Like, I don't know. Oh, I played quite a lot. I tried Alan Wake, and I did get very scared at Alan Wake. I also tried my darndest with Alien Isolation, but that game scared me too much. That game genuinely scared the fucking bejesus out of me. It scared me so bad. And I
What was it
not,
about that one? What made it worse than the other ones?
I don't know. The Alien Isolation like has such a fantastic atmosphere. It does. It's like every little piece plays its part in just creating. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like how smart like the xenomorph is. That's what it's called, right? Yeah, it's a xenomorph. I don't know whether it's like just how smart it is and like you know, the stuff it'll like open and the places it'll look to try and find you. And I don't know, man. I don't know. That game scared the shit out of me. I hated it. I you know, I've like watched other people play horror, but yeah.
I didn't like the way that the xenomorph is like smarter than you because it learns. And I don't think that's like, why do you
I'm
need
too
that
dumb.
horror game? Yeah, like I can't do that. It's playing chess and I'm just on checkers.
Possible thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm too stupid to outrun like a NPC alien that's trying to kill me.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
And it like learns where you hide. And I didn't know that going into it. And so I was like blocking off like doors and stuff. And I was like, I'll just go under this like desk. And it just kind of like it beeline straight for me. And then I was like, oh, well, this is a losing battle.
Yeah, I played it on the Xbox as well, because this was back when like it was like the family console. I played it on the Xbox and we had a Kinect as well. And if I remember correctly, the Xbox version, if you had the Kinect plugged in, it would react to like sound that the Kinect would pick up as well. I could be lying. I'm almost positive that that was the case when during the rare time that I had an Xbox One, when they forced you to buy it with the Kinect. I'm almost positive that's one of the things they did, was they made it so that the sound also would like alert the alien, which is not fun. I didn't like it. A great concept. I wish I wasn't such a scaredy cat for it.
I like basically exposure therapied myself to horror games, I would say. I never had like a huge interest in them. It wasn't my thing. And then I think it was probably around the time of, I don't know if either of you two remember, it was a viral video before the concept of viral videos went viral, was the guy playing Amnesia: The Dark Descent, like on Skype, so that dates it, on Skype with his friends, and like screaming, crying, throwing up through the whole thing, just like absolute wailing. I don't remember what the title of that video is, but if you Google like guy crying through Amnesia, you will find it. It's a very old video. It's like 7 minutes long. It is hilarious. I think I saw that and I was like, okay. If this guy can do Amnesia, I can do a horror game. And I didn't start with Amnesia. I think I like started with The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, which is like barely a horror game. That's like a mystery thriller and there's one jump scare in it. But it is spooky. It does kind of get you. And that one was a tradition for me for a couple years, was playing Ethan Carter. But then I went on to like do Amnesia: The Last Descent, and that is terrifying. And things like the Dark Pictures anthology games, and what else have I played? Oh no, I'm forgetting, but there's definitely others. But I basically learned to like terror laugh my way through games. When they're scaring me. What is the other one where Soma I definitely cry laugh through. Like things are spooking you and just like that's the
yes. Like if you don't laugh you'll cry kind of situation. Exactly.
Maybe
I'm glad that we all had the amnesia moment. I think because like when I was kind of getting to like my mid-teens when I was like 15, 16. That's when it was like Slender Man and Amnesia. It was like those two games. It was like that was the horror experience. This was when like Twitch was kind of starting to kick off, or like YouTubers like PewDiePie and stuff were starting to like have their like moment. That's where like the whole barrels thing came from, was like Amnesia, right? That was like the PewDiePie meme, was like every time he would see a barrel, he would say barrel. And like that was kind of my initial exposure into more like horror stuff, was PewDiePie like screaming like very, very loud.
Yeah, I wonder that like it did have such a rise. Sorry, go ahead, Elie.
I was just gonna say, I remember Stefano. Do you remember the little, like, I don't know how I remember this, the little statue that he had? And he carried the whole way through the
No.
Stefano. I remember this. It was like like a little statue of a guy like with a sword or something. He carried it through the whole like thing, because you can obviously like pick stuff up, but you can't obviously like hold things in two hands. You have to, so he put it down, open doors, pick it up, go through the whole thing. And I remember going, oh, maybe that's kind of like, that'll help me. And I remember finding Stefano, or the statue, carrying it around with me for like an hour or so and going, this is a pain in the ass. Like, I'm throwing this statue away and it doesn't make me feel any safer. This is the end.
Security blanket statue.
Yeah.
It's only good for content. It is funny that like horror games were popular before like the rise of YouTube culture, of course. But there's this definite correlation of like, ooh, wow, people sure do like watching other people play horror games and be terrified of them. Like that was a whole thing, and that's still a whole thing. Absolutely. I guess I just said that's basically what got me with somebody's YouTube video being scared of Amnesia. So I am the kids. What about like, okay, I want to just talk about subgenres of horror, like what we think are some of the best ones and like what ones work the best, because I think it's walking sims, like, or, I like an adventure game, a classic adventure game, basically, but like we called them walking sims for a while. The Somas, the Amnesias, things where you're looking for items, you're like exploring the place, and things are chasing you, and like you don't know what's going on, and everything is horrible. And I just feel like, yeah, sure, you've got Resident Evil, but like in Resident Evil, you've got a gun. Like, I know like ammo is limited. That's the whole thing, but you can fight back. I'm like, I like the horror games where you're just some guy and this thing is going to get you. And that I think is like top tier horror, is the unarmed walking sim.
It's
story
so
puzzle
scary. Deal. It's so freaking scary. I played, this is another horror game that I did not get very far in. It's a trend of mine, playing horror games for like an hour and then being like, this is scary, I'm good. It's a Korean horror game called White Day. I think it's White Day, a labyrinth named school. And it's like,
it has a long name.
Yeah, of course it does. And I think it's like the very first kind of horror that you encounter. It's like I could be slightly misremembering. It's like a janitor, and I'm almost positive he has a limp. I'm almost positive it's a janitor with a limp. The limp thing, am I making that up? It's been many years. I'm almost positive it's a janitor with a limp. And he has like keys like attached to his belt, right? So when he's like walking or limping, I'm almost positive it's a limp, but you can hear the keys like jangling. So, if he sees you, he starts like chasing you down to try and kill you. So you go and like hide in a toilet cubicle, and you could just like hear the jangle of the keys as he's like looking for you. And I can't do anything. I've got nothing to defend myself. I just hide in a freaking toilet cubicle. And that is good. It's good. It's scary though. It is very scary, but that's kind of the point, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think.
Definitely. Elie, do you have a favorite subgenre?
I think I agree with walking sims, and I think the closest that Resi got kind of recently at least was 7 Biohazard, because at least in that one, Ethan has like no clue what he's doing, so you might as well not have any weapons. And that kind of gets the vibe across, but then you've got like Resi 4 and like Leon's like some like special assassin. Even in like the second like Resi 2 he knows enough that it's not scary, but I think my favorite subgenre is probably co-op horror. I think that's just like,
oh yeah,
it's so fun. And it's actually now how I play most of my horror games. Like Lethal Company, Outlast Trials have been really good this year. Phasmo, although Phasmo was great when it came out because it was janky as, and you could get away with so much stuff. Like my friends and I thought for the longest time that all you had to do was hold the crucifix, just through like confirmation bias.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so we would have like we'd call it a conga line of defense, where we'd have someone at the front with a torch, someone holding a crucifix, someone with a camera, and like someone with incense. And like we played so many games, probably about like 20 games with the crucifix without getting hurt. And then one day someone like put it on the floor and it snapped because of like you get 2 tries with the crucifix, and like one of the things snaps and the other snaps. I remember one of my friends going, "You've broken it. How the hell have you broken it? Like, you've broken the crucifix. You've dropped it on the floor and it snapped and now it won't work anymore." And we just had no idea. But now Phasmo is really hard. Like, I haven't won a game.
It is.
In so long. There's too many ghosts.
It's tuned for like the lifers now. Yeah, there's so many types of ghosts and they are so fast they can find you. It is definitely,
and their clues are like a little more subtle these days as well. Yeah, I think something we've spoken about this before as well, Lauren, something that especially in the early Phasmo days that I think is a way. I think I agree with you as well, Ellie. I really like co-op horror because I find that it's more digestible for me as someone who is a little bit like averse to the scaries. Is that co-op horror opens so much opportunity for like humor in it, right? Depending on who you're playing with. And especially in the early days of Phasmophobia, like it was so ripe for comedy because of how jank it was and because you didn't really know what you were doing. You would go lock your friend in with the spirit box and you would just like sneak out and leave them in the house. And it was like, and it was funny, right? It was good. And I still feel that way about Lethal Company. But I think that is, for me personally, that's something I like about co-op horror, is that you can kind of bring that element of humor and it makes it a little less scary.
You're making me remember those like really early days of Phasmophobia where like it was so frightening in the first like month of Phasmo when nobody knew how anything worked. It was like kind of a mystery. Like everything was, the systems were all under the hood. Nobody knew exactly how the ghosts work or how smart they are. And I was so scared. Like, and I had to play with one of my siblings and the two of us, like, just walking into a dark room with a flashlight was scary. I was like, we need to have the lights on as soon as lights, like my heart rate was racing constantly in Phasmo with nothing happening. And like, as soon as one small thing happens, you freak out. And now like, you know how it works. So it's less scary, but those early like moments where nobody knows what's going on, that's like peak horror, peak fear is the uncertainty and the not knowing is the best part of horror. I think when you don't like in a movie, in a book, in whatever else, like other like forms of media can do that. But then in a game is just so great because it like you have to do something and it's going to make you do something and you don't know how any of it works. And you're just going to have to like hope you figure it out. That's peak horror for sure.
I think my 2 favorite memories from Phasmo was probably one where like the group of my mates who I used to play with, we kind of were like, hang on a second, we don't get any money for this. Even if it's successful, we get like, what, 20 quid? Like, is this worth, like Anna's just died. Is that worth that? And so we decided to completely strip one of the houses of everything they had. Anything that wasn't nailed down, we took it all out of the house. Because we were like, theoretically, this is a protest point. So we'll sell it. We'll sell your TV. We'll sell your kettle until we get better pay. And then I think they patched that out. I don't think you can do that anymore. But
no.
Which sucked. We had like this whole van full of just stuff. And then the second time was when
we're advertised as a ghost finding like company, but then you're actually just robbing the place.
No, klepto ghost hunters.
Yeah. Pay me more than 20 quid after my friends just died, you know, like, come on. But, and then the second one was when we were like chased around the asylum map. We probably were there for like an hour and a half or something crazy like that, because it was so big and the ghost only like hunted for such short periods that it couldn't find us and we couldn't find it. And we were like so determined to get it. And so neither of us, and it ended up badly. It ended up me going, guys, I can hear footsteps. And everyone else was like, I don't hear anything. You're crazy. And I was like, no, I definitely hear footsteps. We shouldn't go down this dead end. And then we went down a dead end, and then a spirit just beeline for us. And we all like died.
Cornered you and got you.
Yeah.
I think my favorite, I have said that, I like the walking sim and I like the co-op, but I think for gameplay, definitely those are my favorites. And this one isn't my favorite for gameplay, but it's definitely my favorite for like just the overall vibes and like the how much it scares you is the stealth horror. Again, your alien isolation, you know, like something that I really like about stealth horror is that, like, if you just exposure therapy yourself to getting killed a whole bunch, if you exposure therapy yourself to like running into the alien in alien isolation every time and seeing the way it like mangles your body to death, like, you know, all of the power of that game, or like most of the power of that game is gone. But like so much of the fun of how those games operate comes from like your own fear of seeing like what's going to happen if you, the thing happen, right? And I kind of like that. I kind of like that. Yeah, like the hands over you and like getting stabbed like through the chest and stuff. Like, I don't know. I kind of like how much the genre preys on like your own fear of finding out, like your own fear of the unknown, which I feel like you get it in other genres as well. But I feel like it excels particularly in like the stealth genre specifically. And then like, I think a PC specific one that I really like is like horror games that fuck with your files, like fuck with your game files. Yeah. Meta horror. Yeah. Like Doki Doki Literature Club. I'm pretty sure that game does it. When I was trying to remember other examples, I came across a game called I'm Scared. It's all in capital letters. Apparently that game does some like game file alteration. I don't know how good it is. Ellie, have you played I'm Scared?
I've heard of it, and it's also like, I think it's quite similar to that dark web game, which does the same thing. Is like the whole thing is you're on the dark web, and then like things start happening to you, and it's like a similar vibe. It's cool.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I like kind of that breaking of the fourth wall and almost roping you in to the horror. Like you're not just kind of on the outside looking in anymore. It's almost like you're directly involved, and that's so scary. That's so scary. I love it. I really like that kind of like meta messing with your stuff.
It's great when horror like breaks that contract of like you're watching the thing, you're playing the game, you're watching the movie. These are the rules of the things that can happen in it, and then it's like, no, what if? And again, games like can do this better than anything else. What if we bring it to you and like, oh, you thought this was a game? No. What if we break outside of the game and then like, how much of it is real? And none of it, but it's still
like fate crashes and like save corruptions. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. I love it. It's like a whole different kind of atmosphere. Like talking about it, like experience it. Nah, I like shit myself. I'm like so scared. But talking about the concept of it, I think it's incredibly cool. I think it's like a really fun way to kind of mess with your perception of not just the game, but kind of like immerse yourself even further into it. Yeah, it's really cool.
You're kind of making me think about like all of the tropes of horror games, like the kinds of like tricks they will pull. Like, do we have favorite parts of those, like the classic jump scare. Something like pops in front of your face and just screams at you.
Don't like jump scares.
That's an easy one. Or like, you know, the phone suddenly rings, which I guess is also just a kind of jump scare. And like the lights going off, also kind of just like, a thing suddenly happens that you weren't expecting and you flip out.
Yeah. I like when you like turn the camera. So you say you're like looking at something and nothing's there, and then you turn the camera and you look back and like something's changed, like there's writing or like something's moved. Oh my God. Cause it's like, again, it's not the jump scare. Like, cause I'm not a huge fan of jump scares. I don't like what they do to my heart. I want to live for a long time. And jump scares are not the way to do that. But I like just the way it kind of fucks with you, right? The way it messes with you, like you turn around and something's moved and then you're kind of always looking around to see if stuff is changing, and it makes you scared to like press on, I guess. I don't know. I love that. That's probably one of my favorite tropes.
Do you have a favorite?
I quite like jump scares, but they have to be like tasteful jump scares. I think as soon as a game starts like plaguing you with them, I like lose all respect for it. And I just find them really frustrating because I'm like, I still remember, I think it was the first Outlast game after kind of all the shit goes down, and you go into this room with a projector, and I was just like rustling around for trinkets, and I step out and there's this dude sat in a wheelchair and you have to go past him. And I was like, oh no, this isn't good. And I was kind of trying to like duke him a little bit to like make him leap out at me and then run around. But it didn't work. And I'd shuffle past and it triggered like a jump scare cutscene where he just like throws himself at you. And I remember being like, damn. And there was a lot of those in Outlast, which kind of at the end got quite old. And then kind of wasn't scary because I would just get so frustrated that someone's leapt on me again. But I think my kind of favorite stuff is when you enter a room and there's just loads of resources, because that's like, you know, then the next place you're going to go is just going to just give you a massive ass whooping. And you're like, oh no. And you come across ammo and you're like, that's nice. That's really handy. Cool. And then you come across another bit of ammo, and then you come across some medicine, and then you're like, oh no. And God forbid a grenade.
Oh, no.
And then you're like, oh, this is going to be really rough. This is going to suck.
If they give you a grenade, things are about to get really bad.
Yeah, just turn off.
What about old timey music or like old timey like radio? Is that a trope, or am I just are all the horror games I'm playing just including that to an extent?
Yeah, I think
it's like what's so scary about like a song from the 1930s being played over a crackly speaker? Why is that so scary?
The record player in the corner suddenly starts. Yeah,
it's like so ominous. I don't know. I kind of like it though.
I hate
that is really nice, and that
chased.
is definitely a trope, and I don't know why it's such a thing. Yeah,
I hate being chased. I hate being chased. I can't stand being chased.
Being chased is I have a massive fear of being chased. Last night I was playing Overwatch, which is a horror game in its own way. Probably you could classify it as that. For so many reasons. Psychological horror game. That's it. But I was being chased by a Reinhardt back to spawn, and I was freaking out the entire time. And my friends were like, "You need to calm down. You need to take a break. Have you slept properly?" And I was like, no. Yeah. It's just too scary.
Oh, it's just a chasing thing.
I'm thinking on like old timey music being so scary, and I don't know why I'm just having visions of like horror games in like 2080. The record player starts and it's like Ariana Grande playing or something. And they're like, oh my God, this is so scary. Just the radio starts and it's like Ed Sheeran. I want that. I want a horror game that starts
music.
Yes, I want a horror game that just starts playing like Break Free by Ariana Grande, and then some eldritch horror leaps out at me and tries to kill me. That's what I want.
That probably exists out there somewhere. Somewhere it must be.
Just find you a good music replacer mod for some creepy old horror game and just turn everything into Ariana Grande.
Hell yeah.
I think
for me, it's gotta be the games that like make you like do something that you don't want to do. Cause that's the part of like being in a game that's so horrifying is like, like nothing's going to happen if you don't continue interacting with the game. And you're like, okay, like your experience with Amnesia kind of, Ellie, like I have to get chased by this thing if I want to finish this game. And like games that will make you walk towards a door that you're like, I don't want to go through that door. I can tell already this is going to be a bad time. Or Molly, like when you like don't want to turn around because you know something's going to be there. Or me and Phasmophobia being like, I don't want to walk into the dark bedroom because I think that's the room where the ghost lives. Just, I love the forcing you to engage part of a horror game where it's like, you can't like, if you're here to play the game, you need to play the game, but I don't want to walk forward. Please. I'm literally too scared to press W. I can't do it. Don't make me. That's one of my favorites, I think.
Yeah.
Do we have like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that was like, that can be a real problem in more predictable franchises like Resi. I don't know if it's because there's a lot of remakes and so you already know what's going to happen, which that kind of sucks. But especially in like Resi 8 with the format of like the kind of like main bosses and little bosses, and it was very repetitive, and you could like identify like a bad room as soon as you walk in, and then you're like, oh, this is going to be really bad. Like the worst bit was it Resi 8 when the big baby fetus thing chases you and you like wake up and you have none of your gear anymore and you have to start figuring out the clues. And yeah, that was awful. It's meant to take you like 10 minutes. It took me 45 minutes to get through that because I kept pausing to be like, it's okay.
Now that I'm scrolling through, like we haven't mentioned this, but obviously we have a best horror games on PC list, and I'm just sort of like scrolling through, and now we've talked about like tropes and different things, but like favorite horror monsters or enemies, because I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, Left 4 Dead is like zombies, right? And like Dead Space remake it's in space, and Alan Wake 2 is psychological, right? I don't even know if there are enemies in Alan Wake. I've never played it.
The
like
batteries in your torch. That's your enemy. That's your fucking enemy in Alan Wake, man. It's those Duracells in the first game. I'm pretty sure they were actual. They were Duracell branded as well. I think they had like a deal or something. Yeah, those fucking Duracells, man. They were the real boss of that game.
That's like,
do you guys have a favorite kind of enemy? And obviously, go ahead, Ellie.
Oh, my cop-out one, the same thing with the batteries, is like any time where you don't have to click a button to swing open a door, where you have to like move your mouse to like in the motion to open it, and you're being chased and you try and open it and you accidentally close it, and then you're like, not now, like let me out of this place.
That's horrifying.
That's awful.
Obviously for you, it's not that being chased, like the favorite enemy would not be like a big hulking alien or like a big hulking monster, because those are the things that chase you. Your pyramid heads, your Mr. X's, whatever else. Do you have a favorite type of enemy, I guess? What's like the enemy in a psychological horror? I guess
real
it's
people.
Yourself.
Yeah, yourself. Me.
Yourself.
I am my own worst enemy. Yeah, definitely. I think
I kind of liked. I like when it's like real people. Well, not real. You know what I mean. I like when it's like other humans. I kind of like that. It's like there's no monsters. The real horror is mankind. Wow. I don't know. I think that always makes it like a little bit scarier for me when it's like you're dealing with just a really evil person. Like, I don't know. That's kind of, maybe it's because there's like, obviously it probably wouldn't happen, but there's the chance, right? There's the chance that something like that could ever happen. And that kind of
puts the fear in me a little bit, I guess.
That's what makes turning off the game scary, is like, oh, it wasn't about aliens or Mr. X. It was just about like some spooky stuff happening in a house. And you're like, oh no, I'm in a house. I have to turn the lights off to go to sleep tonight. No. That happened to me early on in Phasmo too. I was like alone at my house for the first time in my new place. And I played like 2 hours of Phasmo with my sister. And I was like, this was a mistake. Now I have to go to bed by myself tonight. That was not a good choice. That was bad.
I think I do have a bit of a show and tell, because now you've mentioned Pyramid Head.
Yeah.
I do have a bit of a show and tell. I obviously don't like what the thing stands for, but the concept and the design is so cool. And I got this from like the Konami. I was looking for a new skit like deck, and I haven't, as you can see, taken it out of the wrapper yet, because it's just
out
so
the cellophane.
cool. It's too cool, and I can't scuff it. I can't even break it in. I can't. But I love Pyramid Head.
Can't even use it. It's too beautiful.
It's too beautiful. I can't do it. I got another one, a different one. But Mr. X, so I hate his footsteps. His footsteps suck. Although if you have a rocket launcher, you're kind of okay. I appreciate the fact that he just nopes out of that as soon as you like point it anywhere near him. So, okay, yeah, understandable. Have a nice day.
Realism.
Yeah, I would leave. I think I appreciate really cool designs for monsters. Like if something's chasing me, but it looks really cool, I can't help but go. I like that.
Nice.
Like Resi 4 had loads of that. I mean, Salazar and Sadler, like the Regenerators, I think they're called. And like Mendez, like the priest guy who kind of like, you fight him when like in a barn that's on fire, and he kind of like turns into this massive skeleton thing that just throws gasoline at you, which sucks. But like that design was so cool. I like Capcom, like they do it really well. I think their designs for monsters, and Biohazard had a lot of that. It's really cool. So I hate it, but I respect it. So
Molly, you brought up sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm thinking about like specific designs now, and I can't believe I haven't spoken about BioShock, because I guess in my head I don't consider it's not like a horror game in the traditional sense.
Right.
I guess it just has like horror trappings, I suppose, like a semi horror atmosphere. The splices in that game are terrifying because they've just like fucked themselves up with all kinds of injections to try and make themselves like stronger or to give themselves like abilities. And I don't know, they're really, really scary. I think they're probably like splices are probably more terrifying to me than the big daddies in that game. Again, it's like the human, even the big daddies, I think it's implied that they're also kind of human, or they were human. There's just something inherently terrifying about the splices, that they were human and then they've like driven themselves mad. I don't know. I love it though.
Molly, you brought up the sound of like someone walking and hearing their keys. And I think that's another one of my favorite horror game things is a sound heard just far enough away that you're not immediately in danger, but you might be in danger very soon. Like the something near you, you can't see it, but you can hear it, and you don't know when it's going to know that you're there. Like that is a heart rate thing for sure, is the approaching footsteps, the creak of the floorboard. That stuff really gets me. Do we have like what do we think is like one of the most S tier horror series? Like Elie, you've talked a decent amount about Resident Evil. Like, is that one of your number ones, or would you call it something else? Would you say it's Amnesia?
I think Resident Evil, I think it covers so much more ground than horror. And so it's almost not fair to like give it the champion, because it's just so great in like action and stealth. And like even just like storytelling.
They're just great games.
Like they're just really great games. And especially like recently, I wasn't happy to find out that they were doing a remake of 4, because 4 was my favorite game. And then I like loved the remake more than the original. So they've just kind of really kept winning recently. But I don't know. I think Alan Wake got really redeemed by the sequel. I think that's done really well. But I think Amnesia is just such like a massive, like, it really brought everything into the mainstream. And I think, like, as we were saying, with just people watching YouTubers play it, I think it was such a massive shift that you got to give it some like respect on Amnesia's name, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And those games hold up like decently well. Yeah. Dark Descent is old, but like, I think everything about how that game works holds up. Again, you don't have a weapon. There's not any gunplay in it that's going to like the mechanics for that fall out of date and feel clunky. You're just walking and looking at stuff and holding up your lantern and being chased by things. And it holds up pretty well.
Yeah. I think one like franchise, which I would say is severely underrated, is really anything to do with SCP. I don't know if because I think SCP has some of like the great, they're obviously not made by the same person. It's like usually loads of different people, but they usually have like some of the best games. Containment Breach is really cool. Secret Laboratory is probably one of my favorite co-op horror games. It's kind of horror, kind of not. It does kind of tread the line with like action FPS as well. But yeah, if you have any spare moments, SCP Secret Lab is really, really fun. So confusing.
I'm trying to remember which one I played. I played like a kind of janky one. It was a co-op one as well. It was kind of janky. I don't remember which one that was.
Did it look like Gmod? Because that's probably Secret Lab.
It was Gmoddy, I fear. Yeah, I feel like it was.
Yeah, that's probably that then. It's got a massive facelift recently. I played it the other night and I was like, whoa, this place is looking really shiny and new now. This is crazy. But yeah, I love that game.
I'll throw in another like underappreciated like indie thing is the Haunted PS1 demo disc. I don't know how many years of it they've done. I remember it, I think in like 2020 and 2021. I don't remember exactly which years. And I honestly don't know if they've like continued to do it every year, like if there's a new one for 2024. But yeah, the Haunted PS1 demo disc is a thing that's on itch, I think primarily itch.io. And it's like a compilation of like a bunch of different very small indie horror games with that like lo-fi throwback PS1, like big chunky models aesthetic. And there are lots of very good, like little psychological things. Like I played one that was about like, it's got like Papers, Please vibes, because I think you're letting people into like a corporate, campus basically late at night. You're like the gate guard and you have to look at people's names and who they say they are. And then like the phone starts ringing and you can like leave your little booth box and like talk to the person in the car and like things start getting weird. And I don't remember the name of that game, but I know it was on the demo disc. And those are always have like lots of just cool experimental, like artsy, freaky little horror things that are super.
Hell yeah. I think actually a little indie horror that I did play that I do remember enjoying is Mad Father. I think it's called. God. It's like very cheap on Steam. Yeah, but I'm genuinely like it's like an RPG maker.
It's so good.
It's genuinely like really good. It's really good. It's super cheap as well. It's like less than $5 if I remember correctly to buy that game, and it is like genuinely a really decent horror game. And I find horror much more digestible in like pixel art graphics, which Mad Father is. Yeah, I would really recommend that one as well.
Okay, I Googled the thing I was talking about. It's literally just called Security Booth. I may or may not have lied about it being on the demo disc. Now I don't remember, but it's got that same aesthetic. It was around the same time. That's also on itch.io. It was neat and fun and short, along with lots of those other things. Any other shout outs we want to make as we're getting close on time? Neat things, unknown things, best things.
I don't know. I think Devour is quite a good like Phasmo alternative, which is really funny.
Yeah.
One of the ghosts just has a gun, And I remember like the first time.
Oh my God.
It's nuts. The first time we played like that specific map, it's like an old Western. And I remember we're like, okay, don't get too close because you got too close to the last one and she'd grab you. And I was standing like a good few steps away, far enough. And he just whips around, looks at me. And next thing I know, there's a bullet in my head. And I'm like lying on the floor, bleeding out like, guys, the demon just shot me with a revolver like someone
Ghosts
else.
shouldn't have guns.
That's not allowed at all. But I quite like that game. That's a good game as well.
Nice. Paul, any last shout outs from you?
Just Mad Father, really. I'm a horror baby, so if anyone listening or watching has recommendations, like that would be really cool as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say for me it's that demo disc, and then like lately my partner and my friends have been playing Pilgrim, which is another prox chat horror thing, and I think it's more horror than like some of the like Lethal Companies. I don't know how horror Lethal Company is. I haven't played it, but it's in that vein of proximity chat, goofery kind of things. Everybody dies kind of deal. Yeah, that's all I got. Tis the season for horror.
Yeah, tis the season for horror games.
Let's go.
Get out there and enjoy it. Find a good one. Thanks, Elie, for coming and talking with us about them. As usual, you can find Elie, Mollie, and I's writing on the website, pcgamer.com, about horror games and other things. More from Elie about horror games than from either of us, for sure. And as usual, you can find all the other news reviews, all that good stuff on the website. And you will be able to talk with Mollie and I about this week's episode at forums.pcgamer.com. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.